Hello, welcome back. I'm here, and here's another issue of the Punisher War Zone by Matt Fraction. Okay, issue number 2 now. Yes, issue number 2. Still the same artist, and still Civil War tie-in. This comes a little bit later down the line. Basically, this is like right after what happened in the previous issue. And the story is called How I Won the War Part 2. The first one was called How I Won the War Part 1. Bring on the bad guy. This story is called Dead Soldiers. Now, Cap has the Punisher tied up, well, in this harness. And this is Captain America. Steve Rogers, the original. And he interrogates him, basically. And he's comparing him to, he sees that he was able to beat, his way stop Hitler and punish things that his ways are outdated. And he gets out of his harness, and he says, you're gonna take me back into custody, and after the last time it'll take more than a riot to bust me out of Rikers. The Raft, which is a supervillain prison, it's underneath Rikers. He says, and Steve says, "Who said anything about custody? I need you, Frank. I need you to serve your country as a soldier in my army under my command." And of course, you have guest star appearances in this issue by Patriot, Hulkling, and Vision of Young Avengers. This is the second Vision, not the first one. This is the second one. Yep, second one. Yes, second one. Along with Luke Cage. Now, they don't play a part in this issue. Plus, you also get camp appearance by Monica Rambeau in here, who some of you may now know as simply Proton, and she's currently in Ultimates. As the rest of these guys, well, Second Vision's dead, Patriot's retired, and Hulkling is member of the New Avengers. Basically, and of course it also still has like a interlude with George Washington Bridge. Yeah. And you also have a little minor appearance in this issue by Stuart Clarke. One page, and then basically it's just Steve laying out a plan to do whatever during the Civil War, and he says his catchphrase, "Vengeance, I'm going to catch some SHIELD agents, catch some more bad guys," and then all of a sudden, well, first they fight, and then they interrogate, trying to figure out Captain America does not like Frank Castle's interrogation tactics, and he's interrogating somebody. Who is it? Marvel's Scarecrow. Yes, Marvel have their own Scarecrow, and he has nothing to do with Jonathan Crane. And it turns out he's working with the Multi-Man, who was another Spider-Man villain. Well, former Spider-Man villain. He's since reformed. As for Scarecrow, I think this Scarecrow is an Iron Man villain. So you have an Iron Man villain and a Spider-Man villain, which is interesting. And Cap and Punisher basically just fighting for a bit, and then they just throw some. I think that's some kind of freezing thing that's supposed to stop Multi-Man. Now, he has never seen the series ever again after this issue, and then and this is very true to Frank Castle's character. He does not kill cops. Gives non-lethal. They'll be fine afterwards. They'll be fine. And that white stuff, that was white phosphorus. They got thrown on the Multi-Man. And basically, Cap gives him a good job. Of course, then Frank Castle goes to Clarke's apartment. Stuart Clarke. I just call him Rampage because he's a former supervillain. So, yeah. So he just says he needs to break the Baxter Building, get some more tech, and then simply that J.W. Bridge is going to pay a visit to Clarke, and he does, and of course he goes back to, and here's something quite interesting, and this does also take place during an issue of Civil War. This is from the Punisher's perspective. Now, two C-list supervillains, the Plunderer and Goldbug, make a deal to join Capside because they revealed that Iron Man is recruiting villains to work on his side. Okay, that's an interesting little ploy. And then somehow Frank Castle doesn't like it too much, and cut to like a briefly with Clarky, and then basically Punisher kills them both. And one thing I should mention is later retcon that this guy here is not the actual Plunderer, but actually his representative. So the only reason why I think that was done was because, because they didn't think it was necessary to kill him. And of course, after they're both dead, Cap beats the living crap out of the Punisher for killing them, and then he kicks him out of the group. And he's basically thrown out of the group in some and that's how the issue ends. He beats the crap out of him. So what do I think of this issue? This issue was actually pretty good. It's another tie-in to Civil War, which after the next issue, there's no more Civil War tie-in. 1 second. Excuse me. After issue 3, there is no more tie-ins to Civil War. This issue was still pretty good. It's a pretty well-developed despite the fact it's a Civil War tie-in, it also deals with more development of the Punisher War Journal series. Yes, he kills 2 more villains. So in the course of 2 issues, let's do this. In the course of 2 issues, he's killed 3 supervillains. Well, 2 actually, because actually scratch that. He's killed 5. 3 in the first issue, and in this one he kills 2 He kills 2 more villains. Like, how many villains does he want to kill off? Now, I think I know the reason why that Fraction was doing this, because no one had any plans to use these characters. Now, Multiman himself does not die, because I don't think it would be good to kill off a reformed villain. And Scarecrow, probably because no one likes seeing Iron Man villains get killed off, because, well, with the exception of the Mandarin, all our villains are basically C-listers, to say the least. But overall, this issue was a really good issue. It's not much filler. It's not filler. It's still, it's very well serialized. This particular, this is basically part 2 of a 3-parter. When I get to issue 4, well, I'll tell what issue 4 is. Now, basically, as of right now, Punisher still kills villains. Now, in the most recent series, he didn't technically kill any major supervillains, but he had to show up in that one. True, he did. But that was a completely different writer. Now, one thing I should mention, though, before I end this video, is that this particular run, done with Matt Fraction, laid the groundwork in how Punisher books basically now are written. Basically, where they're well tied into the Marvel Universe, not loosely connected to it as they were before, and he kills off villains. Something that Rick Remender and Greg Rucka and not much Nathaniel Emerson in a way, but basically mainly just Rick Remender and Greg Rucka. Basically, Matt Fraction laid the building blocks on how to write a Punisher really well and really relevant. And I'm going to give now. There's no particularly any hiccups with this particular issue, but it's an improvement over issue 1. I would say so. It's a good issue too. One thing you gotta know basically when you're reading this, you always gotta make sure that for some people basically they would have jumping out point with issue 3. That is the reason why that issue 3 is that's why it starts out as a 3-parter instead of like a 6 or 7 or 8-parter. It starts out 3 parts because issue 3 is usually a jumping off point. Simply, it's just people's decision if they're going to keep the series or they're going to drop it. Quite honestly, if I was picking this up back then, I would continue picking this up because this is great. I wasn't buying the book at the time, but I was reading it when this book was coming out originally back in late 06. Even though publication it says like 2007, it was actually. I mean, the first issue came out in, I think, November 2006. That was the first issue. This issue I just read came out in December 2006. With the next issue in 2007. I give issue number 2 a 9 out of 10. Alright. That does it for this particular review. Stay tuned for the next review of the next issue of Punisher War Journal Volume 2, which will be issue number 3. But until then, see you there. Bye.